This week on Big Red's Cooking, we make onion rings. Gway! Hi, welcome back to Big Red's Cooking. As always, I'm Big Red. So this week I've got one of my favorite things in the world to eat. It's a really simple video. I'm going to show you how to do a nice crispy breaded onion ring. Very similar to the style you get at A&W. I'm even going to show you how to make that seasoning salt that goes right up over top of it. This is really quick, really simple, and this is one of these things that anybody can do. But you know what? You didn't come here to listen to me talk, so let's go ahead and jump on over to that workbench and we'll pick up over there. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do, because I always like to make sure everything is ready when I need it, we're going to actually get our seasoning salt done and out of the way. Because once we make our batter, we're going to want to just sort of push forward with that. And this way our seasoning salt will be ready to go. So this is pretty straightforward. We're just going to start off with the salt here. So I'm going to do 2 tablespoons of salt. Now, you know what? If you don't like the way this one tastes, go ahead and adjust it afterwards. You know, this is sort of what I put together to suit my own taste. Now I'm going to use a teaspoon of onion powder. And all my loyal viewers know how much I love garlic. And I almost always use fresh garlic. But there's sometimes we do need the dry stuff. Now, I don't know. I'm hoping the camera picks this up. This is dehydrated garlic. You'll notice, if you look carefully, it's a little bit more yellow in color and not white that a lot of the garlic powders are. And this is dehydrated, granulated garlic. And I find it tends to be a whole lot better. And then I'm also going to add 1 teaspoon of hot paprika. And all we gotta do is just give this a little stir around. And you know what? I think I'm gonna add just a little bit more paprika. Add another teaspoon. And there we go. Now we've got ourselves some nice seasoning salt to put on our onion rings afterwards. So what we're going to need for our onion rings, what we're going to end up doing is we're going to dip them into a batter first. Then we're going to put them in the breadcrumbs. Then we'll go ahead and deep fry them. So the batter we make is going to be really relatively simple. And if you go back to some of my old videos, I did pancake batter. And this is going to almost be like a thin pancake batter. So what I've got there right now is I've got ½ cup of flour, a teaspoon of baking powder, I'm going to put a 1/4 teaspoon of salt in there. Give that all whisk to make sure our baking powder is all nice and equally distributed through our flour, because we don't want to mix this too much. The less we mix this, the better. So what we're going to do now then, we'll take 1 whole egg, ½ cup of milk, plus an extra tablespoon of milk. And we'll go ahead and we'll give this a whisk. And what we want to be able to do, and by whisking the two of these together, it'll be a little less mixing in here with our flour. So the more we mix that, the more gluten we're going to develop. And that gluten is going to give us some chewiness, and we don't want that. We're just looking for something to basically act as a glue so our breadcrumbs can stick. So now that I got that milk and that egg all whisked together, I'll go ahead and I'll just drop that right down on there. And we're just going to mix this just enough so we have a smooth batter. Like I say, we're not looking to over mix this at all. We just want to sort of get rid of most of the lumps in our flour, out of our flour, and just sort of pull this together. And the less mixing, the better. So I'm just going to put that to the side. Alright, so then our last thing we're going to need is onion rings. We kind of need some onion. So what I like to do is get rid of the peel first. Oh, not a great looking onion on the inside, but that's okay for our onion rings because we just want the most outer rings. So go ahead and peel this off. Now you'll notice sometimes you get it's almost like a skin on the onion. You know, and if you notice that, especially when we start taking our rings apart, if you notice that, you're going to want to get rid of that because that's going to impede everything sticking on the onion ring. And sometimes you'll notice when you get those onion rings, there's no batter or there's no breading onto it. Well, that's probably what's happened is there's that filament that's there, that membrane. And that's what's impeding it. Alright, so we're just going to take this, we're going to cut these down in some nice wide rings. So again, we can see we've got those layers on the inside. We want to pull those away. So we'll take our, you know, and I always check the inside as well. Just take that, toss it into our flour. Now this stuff here, okay, so I got that layer that's on the inside that's no good. This real small stuff on the very center, nothing matter with that at all. So again, same type thing. I'm going to check, make sure, pull away these filaments. We don't want those. And this very inside stuff, that's perfectly fine onion. I'll save that and I'll use that for another meal, probably my supper tomorrow or something. Alright, so what we're going to do, I'm just going to push these to the side a little bit, give myself a bit of space. What I'm going to do is to give our onion a bit of a coating of flour. And what this flour is going to do is it's going to help for our batter to stick. And we don't want a lot of excess flour, so what we're going to do, just give a little tap so any excess flour comes off. And you can do a few of these at a time. Drop it down there. Again, this is plain flour, there's nothing special about it at all. And what you want to be able to do is get rid of any of the excess batter. You don't want a lot of batter on there. Just let it drip for a minute. And right on down into our breadcrumbs. So once we get into our breadcrumbs here, make sure to give it a really good coating. And you'll notice I'm not using my fingers at all. Fingers have a tendency of having stuff stick to them. And that's where you end up with gaps and in your breading. And we don't want that at all. Alright, so my oil is nice and hot. Now, just like I do every single time I'm working with that hot fat, I'm going to caution you, if you want to take care when working with hot fat, and you really should have a proper deep fryer. I am a professional. I feel comfortable doing this. I do have my fire extinguisher right there. I know how to handle this. I've got my thermometer, so I'm checking my temperature. Now what you're going to want to do part way through the cooking of these, you're going to want to flip them over. Right, because what's going to happen is we got one side that's sticking up out of the oil, and we want to make sure both sides are nice and golden brown. So, you know, my breadcrumbs here are nice and dry. Is one thing you want to keep in mind. You want to have good dry breadcrumbs. Alright, so there's our onion rings all done up. A little sprinkle of our seasoning salt right onto them. You'll notice when I season stuff, I let it fall from really nice and high. You're more likely to get a much better coating that way, instead of having to worry about big clumps of stuff. Oh, these are going to be good. We'll go ahead and get these in our bowl here. You know, and we'll head on back over to our main counter and we'll give these a little taste. Don't those just look wonderful? Oh, let's give one of these and just listen to that crunch. Just fantastic. So you can see, a really simple little treat for yourself. Great as a side with hamburgers, are great on their own. So no need to be buying those, you know, rings at the store anymore. You know, these onion rings are just fantastic and really easy to make. So as always, I hope you've learned something. I hope you've enjoyed this video. You know, if there's any recipes that you want me to try, go ahead, email me, shout, you know, send them to me on Facebook, whatever it takes, give them to me. I'll go ahead and I'll review those recipes for you as well. Anything you want me to try and come up with a recipe for, anything you'd love to see me do a video, send it out. Drop a comment down below. You know, let me know what you want to see. But keep coming back, keep tuning in, keep eating some great food. And we'll see you again soon. Bye for now. Namoltas.